Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Lam here. In today's Fuji Friday, I'm going to cover 2 weeks worth of information because I missed last week. I was actually out traveling for a drone racing event. So I'm back this week and hopefully we can get to our regular schedule again. But who knows, there's just a lot of stuff going on. So let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing that I do want to discuss is there is an update to the Fuji camera app. This is a minor update. It's going to add support for the GFX100. So anybody who owns a GFX100, you now have a very simplistic phone app. Unfortunately, we're still looking for major updates to really vastly improve that application, or at least that's my thought process. I just feel that application is a little bit too simplistic. With this update, there's also some bug fixes and performance improvements, but there's really no details on it. So hopefully it's more stable for more people. But honestly, I don't really use the Fuji camera app because there's just not enough functionality there for me to use it. Moving on to the next subject, there was an interview with one of Fuji's managers, Makoto Oshii. I think that's how you pronounce it. So if I get it wrong, I apologize for that. But one of the questions that he couldn't answer, but it's actually a very interesting question, is whether or not the GFX100 would have a crop censored mode. So in other words, instead of using that large medium format, we crop down to a full sensor so that we can get improved autofocus, better frame rates, better blackout periods. This is definitely something very interesting because it would definitely help the GFX100 compete against full frame cameras. But we have to look at the benefits in the short term and also in the long term. Definitely in the short term, having that type of mode is going to allow the camera to be much more flexible. It's going to be able to compete with full frame cameras much easier. But if you look at the long-term benefits, in other words, developing that type of technology, but really what you want to do is you want to make that medium format or large format, as they're calling it right now, be able to perform the same as a full frame sensor, which is something that you can do because it's all digital technology. But all those challenges are technology related and you know it can be solved. So Fuji definitely has to ask itself whether or not that short-term game is important, because we know that the camera sales of the GFX100 is very strong right now. So should they move resources to give that full frame crop mode, or should they continue to improve medium format, or large format is what they're calling their new sensor size right now? It'll be interesting to see what Fujifilm decides to do, but definitely in the short term this will be a welcome feature. We'll see whether or not this is actually going to be implemented in a firmware update. Moving on to another camera body that should be coming out in 2019, which is the Fujifilm's X-Pro3. There is rumors that it's going to come with a tilt screen, and this is something that I don't really see a disadvantage of because a tilt screen is always useful. If you don't want to use the tilt screen feature, obviously you can just keep it flat on the camera. Now it definitely can increase the price of the X-Pro3, so there may be a slight disadvantage, but I can't really imagine that that's going to dramatically increase the price of the X-Pro3, but it remains to be seen. Personally, as a photographer, I always like having a tilt screen because when you have it on the tripod, a tilt screen is definitely very beneficial. It's very useful. Another thing that can be useful, because we know that this camera is going to be able to do 4K video, is that you can actually move the screen away from the body, which allows air to circulate closer to the camera body, because when you're recording 4K video, the camera body does get very hot, and removing the LCD screen from the back of the camera body does dramatically help cool the camera body down. So that is a definite benefit for anybody who's going to be shooting video with the X-Pro3. But I really look forward to seeing the full specs of the X-Pro3. Hopefully we'll see rumors about that camera body coming out really soon. And the last thing that I want to talk about is Fujifilm's patenting a top screen that can actually tilt backwards so that you can kind of use it as a EVF. It is definitely a very interesting concept. I'm really not sure what the benefits to that just yet. It remains to be seen, but I look forward to seeing that camera. It doesn't look like from the pictures that it's showing that that particular camera has an eye cup or an EVF. So having that being able to tilt upward and being able to use it as a semi EVF, that might be something that's very interesting. What's more interesting to me as a person who does a lot of video is that it also shows a screen that can articulate into a selfie screen. So that's something that we've been looking forward to having in one of the Fujifilm cameras. As long as that camera can actually do great video, that's going to be a great camera body for us vloggers and us video users that are kind of one-man bands that really wants that selfie screen, because it's just going to make life easier for us. So we don't really know whether or not this is going to be a new camera body or not, but if it is a new camera body, that's going to be quite surprising, because Fujifilm already has quite a number of camera bodies, and hopefully it's going to be one of their higher end camera bodies because the video specs on those are generally going to be much better. I really don't want this camera body to be a 1080p only camera body because of that selfie screen. I hope it's actually going to be in one of the topper end lines with that selfie screen for us video users, but it remains to be seen what it's going to be. But it looks like Fujifilm is listening to the video market, and they're going to come out with a camera body that kind of takes care of us, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. Anyways, that's all of the topics that I want to cover this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.